Deception is a weapon against the soul. Scientism is not scientific. Gullibility is believing you came from a monkey, yet monkeys still exist. Gullibility is believing that an artist's concept image is a real photo from space. A picture or pictures of model orbs in a studio are photos beamed back from space. Gullibility is believing all the speeds, distances, or sizes of the lights we see above us at night that have never been measured. They're just claimed. It's just a belief system. The heliocentric model is a wild belief system that cannot prove its own claims, but somehow carries men to their grave, never having searched for God. Scientism is wrought with corporate capture, and its narratives can be disproven by real laws of science. We had to be brainwashed and mildly bullied into believing evolution and the belief that Earth is moving millions of miles an hour when you consider all of the motions at the same time. And allegedly we never go back to the same place, but the same sky is above us every year, every day. Come back to your senses, literally. In case you haven't noticed, Earth is stationary. Sorry, I get sort of an attitude when I'm reading this stuff because once you break out of the psyop, it is so ridiculous. In case you haven't noticed, Earth is stationary. There is another explanation that makes more sense and aligns with real laws of science, unlike the narratives of myth or mythologies of science, falsely so-called. Example 1. Genetic entropy disproves evolution. Proteins do not spontaneously gather together in just the right formation to spontaneously come alive and form DNA from chaos. DNA has to already be present in order to instruct proteins and react to feedback. It is magical thinking to acknowledge that here there was an original, that there was not an original coder. I wrote that wrong. Or programmer. On the contrary, it is only magical thinking to believe this happens by chance after everything came out of an explosion of nothing. This is a Kabbalistic belief and is not reproducible. It is not scientific at all. It is accepted purely by faith. Not even AI, which is demon-controlled mind of the coming beast system, not even AI can offer a way for science to form out of a chemical soup, or better yet, create chemicals out of nothing. Variation of species is written into DNA, and by no means proves one species transition from another. Hybrids and genetic manipulation are also not the result of evolution. Colorful, fragrant flowers, pineapples, cherries, evergreens, ladybugs, trout, eagles, dogs, all are great designs made for us by an intelligent designer who academia foolishly abandoned to the peril of their souls. Example 2. According to the laws of thermodynamics, heat cannot transfer through a vacuum. In other words, it is scientifically impossible for the sun to transfer heat to our realm through a vacuum expanse of a whopping 93 million miles. Though this claimed distance is not set in stone, it sometimes gets increased by science. The laws of gases state that you cannot have a positive pressure system adjacent to a vacuum without a physical barrier. The pressure would expand to fill the available space, and Earth would lose its atmosphere immediately. Enter the magical thinking. The claim that gravity holds it down, even though this is not demonstrable anywhere else, is redunculous. Okay. lost my place. It is more pseudoscience. Furthermore, how can a ball of gas even burn in a vacuum? When you put a lid on a candle, it quickly burns all remaining oxygen and goes out. The outrageous distances and speeds claimed are frequently changed, updated, and have never been measured again. They are believed upon. It is intellectually dishonest to turn a blind eye to this and not recognize it as just a belief system. That is a lie. God does not lie to you. He called them lights. And I wrote this over a few days. I'm not sure if I wrote this in there, but the lights, speaking of the moon, light of the moon, the craters of the moon look like electrical discharge craters. They are electrical lights. This is an electrical field. That's why there's magnetism, etc. Example 3. The inverse square law of light is measurable, repeatable, and proves light does not travel indefinitely. To speak only of the speed of light is part of a psyop. It is a cleverly devised fallacy. The truth is, you can see a light. If you can see a light, that means it isn't far away. Just like when you're driving at night and see oncoming headlights, you automatically know it isn't far away because a few miles back you didn't see it. The lights above us, we only see them because they're not far away. Please do not be misled by the heliocentric model. The heliocentric belief system has never been proven. NASA eats up $60 million a month or a day. Doing what? All we see are bizarre headlines and artist concept images that they made on a computer. Robert Simmons designed the blue marble image that was on everyone's iPhone. He made it on a computer. The enemy of God is a liar, and your heart and your mind are the prize. We can see so much detail on the moon just by zooming with a camera. This alone disproves the distances claimed. The craters resemble electrical discharge in plasma areas, not asteroid holes. Example 4. The 28-day cycle of the lunar phases actually disprove the current model because instead we would expect to see a lunar eclipse every night and probably never see a full moon. The phases only work because the sun and moon are on the same circuit above a level Earth. Sun laps moon every 28 days, and their interaction creates the phases of light on the moon. The moon is seen during the day when the sun has just lapped the moon or is about to. The moon's 28-day cycle is full on day 14 and empty on day 1, reminiscent of a woman's cycle. Yes, it's all by design. Enoch 1 explains, first Enoch, toward the end of the whole book, upper 70s chapter, explains that the size of the sun and moon circuit changes throughout the year and creates seasons, and explains the shorter, longer day lengths. Eclipses are on an 18-year cycle and are caused by dark astronomical bodies. Those have been documented by astronomers of the past. Somehow we've dropped that information. Selenelian eclipses occur with the sun and the moon both visible above the earth. So there's another explanation for eclipses, clearly. The moon's craters wouldn't actually make sense facing the Earth's side. But if you look at I should have edited it. If you look at electrical discharge craters in plasma, you will see the same look, meaning the moon is some type of plasma phenomenon. Incoherent electrostatics causes downward vector, falsely called gravity, and is repeatable with a Van de Graaff generator. This would explain why tides occur in salt water only, as salt water can carry a charge or react to an overhead electromagnetic field. Fresh water, not as much. The Bible says God tells his waves where to stop. The Antarctic ice wall melts salt-free water, thereby creating a ring of fresh water at the outer expanse of the waters, so there are no waves at the ends of the earth. It's very calm waters, even though it's an ocean. Example 5. Again, are we really gullible enough to believe man-made technology is sending detailed color images back to Earth from billions of miles away, while Earth allegedly spins faster than the speed of sound, while corkscrewing 66,600 miles per hour around the sun that is itself shooting through space at 50 million miles per hour? All just a belief system. These speeds have never been measured. They are a belief, and they don't work with other principles of science. People who trust the priests of science above God will regret it. He says, if you're ashamed of me or my word in front of men, I will be ashamed of you, or you in front of my Father. The biblically endorsed book Jasher, the Ken Johnson version on Audible, offers a history of past times that a righteous God judged his creation because they forgot him and feared him not. He lets things develop for a long time. God is long-suffering with us. Okay, so example 6, equally nonsensical. In case you haven't noticed, Earth is stationary. This was demonstrated by scientific experiments in the 1800s by Michelson Morley. Experiments with light. It was repeated, measurable, and proved Earth doesn't move, and that the ether exists, and the ether is what moves. The sky is what moves. Cue the infamous pseudoscientist Albert Einstein, who swept those findings under the rug, creating a bizarre theory that has no basis in reality. And some people claim he actually borrowed it from someone else, who didn't really care if it was stolen because he knew it wasn't true. I don't know. I haven't researched that myself. I've just heard it. Only an enemy of God or someone gullible and brainwashed would fall for that magical thinking, falsely called science. Example 7. The field of theoretical astrophysics is categorically pseudoscience, quite literally by definition. They create mathematical constructs around philosophical views and beliefs what space is, that don't relate to or explain our actual realm. For instance, dark matter. It's just made up. It is as much a belief system as any belief system. It could be argued that Kabbalistic tree of knowledge, which is Gnostic Satanism, is actually at the center of this controversy. Big surprise. Turning the scientific method into a mathematical free-for-all by Kabbalistic priests. The mythology of atheism is now taught to children as fact, and after several generations, we are none the wiser. Sadly, these dark magic tricks have ingrained everyone with a do-what-thou-wilt philosophy. That is the first tenet of Satanism. The heliocentric system undermines the first page of the Bible, and that was its purpose. Everything is a deception, which actually proves the Bible, because it says there's a deceiver in the world. How gullible were we to accept the heliocentric belief system that was already disproven, instead of believing what the creator of our realm told Moses face to face, around Exodus 24. Jewish historian Flavius Josephus described the Earth system as a dome-enclosed realm with marked out as by a compass, which is a tool used for drawing a circle on a flat surface, like that. In other words, circular, but flat and stationary. Where do we get this concept? It's actually throughout the Bible in the King James Version. But how else could clouds gather overhead if it weren't enclosed? Compasses only point north. There's nothing magnetic in the south. The south is the outer rim, like a ring magnet. There is one magnetic center and an icy perimeter. Cold strengthens magnets. Okay. The sky's bright color is possible only because of the electromagnetic field or ether above us. Recall the sun was made on the fourth day. The colors of our sky match the colors of the atmospheric noble gases when excited by an electromagnetic field like a Tesla coil. And there's plenty of videos online. How many people incorrectly think that CO2 is the only gas above us because of the climate change narrative? The climate change narrative is supposed to cover up the end times cataclysms that will happen as climate change. Neon lights were God's idea, and they explain the blues, pinks, oranges, sometimes purples in the sky above as the electromagnetic field passes through and the temperatures change. In addition to lighting being lit up by the field. If you look down a long hallway, the ceiling appears to meet the floor. In the same way, the sun and moon appear to rise or lower even though they are traveling parallel to the ground as they move across the sky circuit. This is a basic law of perspective. The same thing happens with airplane condensation trails and chemtrails, and the airplanes, you'll see them look like they'll go straight up, and as soon as it crosses over your head, it looks like it's going straight down, but it's not actually, it's just going across the sky. Anyways, they appear to go up until they are right overhead, and then they appear to move downward, even though they are just traveling across. The bottom of the ocean is flat, and no one has ever seen a curved frozen lake. With thousands of miles of mountains and even more miles of massive salt flats and plains that settled out flat because water always seeks its level, and there was a catastrophic worldwide flood caused by waters above and fountains of the deep, like geysers, that I believe are what they're falsely calling asteroid craters. They're old geysers. There is no Earth curve, let alone enough curve, to maintain the necessary curvature of 8 inches for every mile squared. Square the miles. For the Earth to be its claimed size and curvature. If Earth is 78% water and water always lays flat and level, it's impossible that we live on anything other than a large, basically level, enclosed realm with islands that we call continents. That doesn't mean you can't fly from one continent to the other or go around in a level, parallel to the ground circle. That's what circumnavigating is. You don't have to be on a ball to go around. The sun does it every day. It goes around the whole Earth in 24 hours every day. The lights are inside the dome. This generation needs to learn real science. Boats disappear until you zoom in on them and bring them back into focus. Telescopes 500 years ago were simply not very good. Just because they sailed from one continent to another across flat water doesn't mean they went around a ball to get there, any more than walking around the block means you've walked around a ball. Gyroscopes don't flip upside down when you go to Australia. Navigation using the stars is based on triangulation that assumes a flat Earth, and stars that never change their pattern, even though in the heliocentric model they claim we're never again at the same point in space ever again. It's not true. If you look at a time-lapse video of the night sky, the absence of parallax motion is a problem for science. The lights above move as though they are attached to a massive structure that may or may not be made of frozen oxygen that happens to be blue. They do not move as though they are at different distances. Parallax motion means that a tree that is near the road will go by quickly, while the building that is far from the road as you're driving will move by slowly because they are at different distances from the road. So time-lapse will not show any parallax motion. It's all like one distance away. We are told our water ball travels billions of miles each year through a vacuum, but the lights above us have not changed for thousands of years. It's like they're attached to an overhead surface. I did not go back and edit this because the whole thing was so long. Sorry, this is redundant. Dusty rocks don't reflect light from even 1 foot away, let alone light years away or thousands of miles away. This is silly. Lights are lights. When you walk into a room and see that the light is round, you don't look at the floor and think that it must be round too. This is what science is doing. It is bogus logic. Renounce the priests of science and return to your Creator before it is too late. Romans 1:20-22. For the invisible things of Him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because that when they knew God, they glorified Him not as God, neither were thankful. You do have to thank God. Neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Romans 1:20-22. Even things like the construction of pyramids and other mysterious structures that we don't know how they were built, the Bible answers it generally with a description from Genesis 6 and Amos 2:9 and other places around David's time 1,000 years ago. They were around there then too. Extra strong, mighty, tall giants that were hybrids. Many people reject that, but it actually matches. Sons of God is mentioned in Job, and it is clearly angels in that reference to it. You have to let the Bible interpret the Bible. Meanwhile, secular history offers other bogus narratives. You rarely get just a scientific explanation that is purely scientific. It's all comes attached to a narrative belief system. Demonic interference experienced... Oh, I lost my place. Well, the demonic realm is not fallen angels. It is the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. If you listen to Jubilees or Jasher, it talks about them being a problem after the flood. They could perceive a lot of demonic problem, and I think God said send a lot of them away, but Satan argued that he couldn't do his work without them. And they are to test men. God is testing men. Many are called. Of those who are called, few are chosen. It does matter how you live. Not that you can ever be good enough to earn God's approval, but if you stray from walking his paths and you never repent and come back, it doesn't matter what you did before. That's Ezekiel. Read it, Ezekiel. Okay, the approved narrative, I'm wrapping up. The approved narrative is as much a belief system as any religion and is largely based on circular logic that can only be accepted by faith. Essentially, everyone is a religious zealot, whether it's in self or intellect or what's falsely called science. You're a zealot, you're a religious zealot. Religion answers the questions of where did we come from, how did we get here, what is our purpose. Science, in a way, attempts to answer those, so you're either a religious zealot for science, which is easily disproven by the laws of science. Real science leads you back to the Bible and archaeology, all of it. The sun, moon, luminaries, and wandering luminaries do not look anything like what NASA's computer-generated images present, and there are no metals on Earth that can withstand the temperatures claimed to exist out there. Satellites are positioned on the ground, with only a few that are suspended temporarily from balloons, just like the alleged Chinese spy balloon. That's what a satellite looks like. Google will steer you toward the approved beliefs if you try to Google this. We are in a control system. You must buy the truth. Other search engines will have maybe better results, but you kind of know exactly, you have to know where to look for things and how to look for things. I can name a few sources. Pastor Dean Odell, whom I learned a lot of this from. I actually chose to go to his uncredited school because I had become a biblical earth believer, and part of it was from his teachings online. So I feel that he's very anointed. I have only completed 1 year. Anyhow, I learned a tremendous amount from him, especially about Catholicism, Islam, all of that. It's excellent. So Austin Whitsitt has a lot of older videos that will explain how idiotic the belief system is. I'm not claiming that anyone is 100% correct. More hesitatingly, I recommend Eric Dubay and Dave Weiss because they are not Christian, but they can explain, they're flat earthers, but they're not Christian. And they can easily defeat scientism. So if you need more, this is to strengthen your faith, to stay strong, endure to the end. Something happens to the 144,000, it's not the whole church. Do not be dismayed. Do not fall away. When you still have refining to do, do not fall away. Thank you.